Okay, hey Jamie, how's it going? It's
Yeah,
been
good.
a while.
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember the last time we chatted?
I think it was a while, yeah. It was a few months ago, yeah.
Was it a few months? I feel like it's been longer. I feel like it's
Yeah.
been maybe a year or something.
Oh, okay.
So much has changed,
Yes.
I feel like, in the past year. A lot of stuff that you talked about has kind of come to fruition, but I think for today, for our little chat, I just wanted to catch up and see, I guess, first of all, what you've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, so much. I think one of the big things that has changed for us since the first, like we started talking is we were very much in a proof of concept phase, whereas we're now doing lots with AI for paying customers. We're in a somewhat sustainable place. So we're actually building things. A lot of our stuff tends to be using like AI to do some form of migration at the moment. That's been the main area that
Okay.
we've found that things have been commercially are working their way.
Viable?
Viable, yeah. So that's quite cool because it is the case of we were pivoting to try to be an agency that really focused on AI, and we're doing that now, and we're able to grow. And when we're hiring people, we're really going for people who fit this new paradigm that I think AI brings to how software engineering is done.
Another kind of follow-up is just, does your team leverage like Claude Code, these kind of tools as well? Because I don't know that you always were. You were building AI, but you weren't leveraging the AI agent tools.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I think it's around December 2025, halfway, midway through, that vibe coding like really took off. Like either Opus 4.5, 4.6, around anti-gravity coming out, with, Gemini 3, and then Codex 5.2. Just around that time, they all got really good and affordable, and the tooling worked. So I'm focusing on Codex app at the moment most of the time, but I went wild, like just over Christmas. I was just non-stop vibe coding, like during family meals. Just had the Mac in the back of the room, just doing this stuff. So and more and more the team is getting in on that, and we're actually getting people paying us to create like a package that you can just with one line install, and it will set up all the vibe coding stuff you want on your machine, sort of like working like alongside DDev.
People pay you for that?
Someone is, yeah.
Okay.
And we're also going to try and bring that to Drupal. So we're going to have the goal is to have like a core thing in Drupal. I think actually we met WebChick here, and she got really into, she's really into the AI stuff and joining in us with the Drupal stuff for a bit, but she's started some kind of initiative to like a working group thing on Drupal.org for us to like start putting together skills, plugins, and actually collaborating on and publicizing it. And one of our new developers, Alphonse, he's made a GitHub where it has like a starter kit, so like commands to get everything running.
Okay.
And he started like compiling a somewhat comprehensive list of all the skills that people in the community have built. It's not actually comprehensive yet, but that's the goal. All the plugins, everything, so that we can have like a starter kit and something else.
Yeah.
And my dream is that we'll have something where there's some kind of base vibe coding thing that we have in the Drupal community with like Drupal practices, contribution guidelines, Drupal.org related tools that we can all use and contribute to, rather than doing our own thing. So yeah, we're taking that pretty seriously and really rolling it out to everyone.
Awesome. Well, so one thing that I've thought about a lot is, I think one of the things that's exciting for me is like, you are not like a day-to-day coder type person. You're like really smart technical person, but in our previous conversations, my impression is like you're not like a coder. And so what this agentic coding, I think people don't like the vibe coding term so much, but it really unlocks your type of like persona to be able to do some really cool stuff. Yeah. Even if it's like you're building some sort of prototype and then you work with your team to kind of make it happen. That was something that was sort of unavailable because you were never going to be able to carve out the time. If you're not kind of your head's in coding all the time, even if you have some great idea, it's like you got to explain it to the team and you're dependent on them, versus now you're just totally unlocked to do whatever, and you could build something that's pretty actually functional. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I really think so. Like, it's made me working with developers and doing my own thing so much better, because there's so many times I have like an idea of how something should be, and I'm trying to talk with developers who would have to build it, but I don't quite have the language to describe it. It doesn't make sense. So this flow drop UI for AI agents was something we built where it created this visual flow of how the Drupal agents work together. But I was really keen on this tool would save things into the standard Drupal config and not introduce some new thing that we had to migrate everything to. Yeah. And I found it really hard to communicate what that was, and every single time anyone took it up, they ended up building like a competing way of running agents inside Drupal. And that was the first thing I was able to vibe code, is like I was like, okay, I'm going to vibe code that. And I could release it, and then a lot of the developers who we were talking to like saw it, got it, and then have taken it further. And there's a lot of times that one frustration that some people have had when I'm working with them is that you could iterate in something like Figma if you're doing just pure flat UX, but with AI, it's quite hard to do iteration with just UX iteration in Photoshop or something, because you actually need to see it playing out. You need to see what kind of questions it would work, how it would respond. So you need to build something that works. But it meant that a lot of the time, if I'm working with a developer, it would be like I'd ask them to do something and I'd expect a result within 10 minutes, and then we'd tweak it in another 15 minutes, and you're just constantly tweaking things, treating a human being like the LLM. But when I do that with AI, it doesn't complain. I can say like, yeah, but I want that button to be red. Can you just change the color, please?
I love it.
Change a whole new set, and it just does it. And what that's helped is it's made communication flow much nicer, because I can then show what I mean, and you can actually try it and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Or I can see why it's a terrible idea, and then they can take it further. So that's been cool.
I love it.
Yeah. So in the last couple of year or so, I've been seeing a lot of your stuff in LinkedIn. I mean, that's where we connected. Was just like loads of LinkedIn posts about Drupal and AI, and you've got very much into headless. So do you want to give me how's that been? And
man, I'm working on some really neat stuff. So I signed on with MMGY. They're a big like marketing kind of company that works with travel, like destination marketing organizations. So think of like counties, states, all that stuff. And they brought me on in a small team to really build a really like dynamic, personalized, AI-heavy type of platform to sell to our kind of customer base. Excuse me. And it's been really exciting. So I really wanted to get into a place where I could really push the envelope in terms of AI like integration with the like actual user experience on the website. So that's been really fun, doing some really cool stuff there. And then I've got my kind of personal project that I've had a lot of fun with, my passion project. I would call it decouple.io. I've been getting the word out this week on that. And so that's like, think of something like Contentful or Storyblock, these cloud CMSs that have gotten pretty popular at the enterprise level in the last several years. That's been a space that's been really interesting to me. And it's bothered me that Drupal didn't have something like that. I'm like, there's nothing that Contentful's doing that's like that mind-blowing. And so I was thinking, well, why don't we have a Drupal cloud hosted version? It could be opinionated, it would be decoupled, and the idea is just that it's hosted. You don't worry about the infrastructure at all. It's just, okay, I want this, just like I would sign up for Contentful, which takes a few minutes. You'd sign up for that. It's got everything you need. You do your model your content. And then now with MCP and AI stuff, you can just plug it in with your Claude Code or whatever, and then it can do a lot of the work. So it can do configuration, it can add content, it can do all this cool stuff. It's still new, it's still beta, but I'm trying to get the word out, get people's feedback on the direction. And so that's been like a really exciting project.
It's really cool, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of people using these vibe coding apps, places like Lovable, Replit, and etc. And some people will look at what we've done. Dries mentioned Lovable in his Dries note, and look at what we've done. It's like, why are you doing this in Drupal? Like, isn't Lovable going to take over? But then, with how good Claude Code has become, there's an element of like, why would you use that? Well, one of the reasons is like the hosting, the general framework stuff, and I felt the same way of like, yeah, but if you had something like a Drupal as your base, as your platform, it's something you can actually trust and build on top of. surely that's going to work better than a Lovable thing where everything you do, you're kind of vibe coding from scratch. So has that sort of been where you're motivated by things?
I think they can kind of play nicely together. And so we could kind of also, this could take us into the Dries note, which was very interesting to me. The Lovable piece was the most interesting piece to me because that overlaps with stuff I'm doing. So my thing was, okay, all these vibe coding tools, Lovable, whatever, they build great front ends. They don't do as much on the back end. My experience so far is that they're doing some Supabase thing, which may be okay for some people, but that's like not a real CMS. I'm guessing that we're going to see more integrations with these cloud CMSs. And my point is, okay, you build your Lovable interface and it's great, you need a back end, so just tell Claude to rewire the front end, which it'll initially be just static content, just rewire that to use your Drupal content. And I did a quick demo on it yesterday. I've been doing a bunch of different demos. There's a lot of different ways to do stuff, but it made me realize I probably need to optimize a few more things for specifically moving from Lovables, how they set things up, to the way we want the final version to work, where you got the React front end. I think they're usually using Vite, I think, for how they do stuff. And then, my MCP layer, once you plug in the MCP, it knows how to talk to your Drupal space. I call them spaces. And it'll create all the content and everything else and rewire everything. I've got a demo up on LinkedIn where I show how it does it. And so it doesn't do it the most efficient way, but it does do it. And so it's enough of a proof of concept where you're like, okay, once I kind of fine tune this, I could get it working really smoothly where it's more consistent. Because isn't that great where, okay, yeah, sure, vibe code your front end, but let's put a real back end. And let's not use a proprietary back end. Let's use Drupal. But make it easy.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Yeah, I think one of the things I think is going to be really key next is this MCP and Tool API stuff. I keep hearing people from WordPress keep saying that they're now ahead of us, but the reality is all their stuff they're doing is the MCP stuff. And the only reason why we haven't moved so fast on it is, one, we had MCP the earliest anyway. It was on the list on Anthropic. Drupal was there in Atlanta. Drupalcon Atlanta, we had the MCP module released by then. But also, we have the JSON API that's so good that actually Drupal's pretty good at working with AI out of the box before we even did anything, compared to MCP. Like MCP is not necessarily the be-all and end-all of this stuff. But there is some talk of some people getting hired to really just focus on getting the MCP thing done, because we had someone, they did their own version, but they used the official PHP MCP SDK, which we in the Drupal community have been now part of and we've been contributing back to. And they've used this thing called Tool API, which sort of controls, it's like Actions Plus, but controls like how we sort out all of the things inside Drupal that we want to expose. You know, if you want a tool that shows a certain type of content type that will have OAuth permissions to connect to, you can then use the Tool API to set that up. And the Tool API can have like agents as a endpoint for it, ECA as endpoint for it, the orchestration to connect to like active pieces, but also MCP. And so that's going to become, I think, a very high priority for us over the next couple of months. But if we can get that piece, which is already basically there, but get it really working nicely, then we can just confidently say, nope, still ahead of WordPress.
Well, yeah, so I'm very interested in the direction. So I'm glad to hear you mention the MCP thing, because it's become an area where I feel like this might be the most important area, is the MCP thing, because we're building a lot of cool tooling into Drupal, but now I wonder how much of that matters versus just having the MCP layer, where it makes it really easy for agents that are outside of Drupal to do work inside of Drupal, right? Because we can build all these tools and you can do all this cool stuff, and there are some advantages because it shows up on the screen and all this stuff, but just the way people are using Claude Code and these other agents that live outside of Drupal makes me think, man, let's just have this MCP layer be super robust, comprehensive. It can do everything inside of Drupal, and then like, aren't we off to the races? Like, how much do we even need to build inside of Drupal once we've unlocked it to be able to communicate better with agents?
Yeah, I mean, so Scott Falconer from Acquia has joined the AI initiative in a leadership role, and he's been pushing this term inside out AI and outside in, where inside out is the inside Drupal, I've got my chatbot and I do stuff, and then outside in is AI is happening outside and connecting via the APIs. And he also the term agent experience. Can we make Drupal do a better agent experience and have that as a first-class citizen? And this is definitely where it's come from. We've seen a lot of benefits from that. I think we'll always want to do both, but we certainly want to do the other one as well. MCP is great. A lot of people are really exploring skills with CLI endpoints rather than MCP, and so we'll be definitely doing both. We've seen this tool CLI module and some Drush agents module that allows like Claude Code to control the tools and control the Drush, the agents inside Drupal, which has been really awesome. And then one cool experiment I've been doing is I've connected, using something called the Agent SDK, I've connected Drupal to Claude Code directly, so that inside Drupal you can click things or use a chatbot, and behind the scenes it's actually sending messages to Claude Code hosted locally, the actual binary, then runs everything, but it runs it using the tools, using the tool CLI, or connects the agents using the Drush agents, and then goes back to Drupal. So when we're doing ECA with, automation with, I don't know, ECA or using the Drupal chatbot, there's a button inside Drupal where you can click, run it with Claude Code. Even the inside Drupal can use all of those endpoints and something like Claude Code to actually power things when you have a reason to want to do it in the Drupal UI. So I think this is going to be the next big, real focus that we need to just get working nicely. And we can get it good now. We've done a lot of proof of concepts. We're past that. This is now the real stage. We need to take it seriously. So tool is the place where a lot of this is happening. Tool module or tool API. Okay. And then the MCP. The MCP module, there's something called MCP_server, which is the real version of this. And I don't know if that will stay with that namespace or if it will go into the MCP module. Right. Because MCP clients and servers are actually very different things. You don't need both installed at the same time. Okay. But I think, the financial stuff that we're doing, the stuff that we're selling, a lot of it is using this skills, this CLI, and all these things to migrate sites into Drupal. So we've bought WordPress sites into Drupal, we've got Figma into Drupal, we've got other Drupal into Drupal, Squarespace into Drupal, we've done random vibe-coded stuff into Drupal. And we're getting to a place where it can take us like maybe 1 or 2 hours. Yeah. And it'll be like an hour of just pure AI, like no human in the loop, no back and forth, no AI being lazy, sort of half doing it. You have to say next steps. You can just like set it running. And you've got Claude Code just going over and over and over again, testing it, doing accessibility checks on the components, and bringing it into Canvas, Drupal CMS, and Acquia Source, which is like the SaaS version of Drupal CMS. And it's been so powerful seeing this happen. It's going to be all open source in Acquia Nebula, I think, or something else. We don't know yet exactly where it's going to fit.
Okay, yeah, that's really exciting. Okay, well, so we've talked through a lot of different things. It's kind of mind-blowing a little bit. I know I've been behind on some of the projects, like I wasn't even that up to speed on the tool stuff and MCP. So if somebody's wanting to kind of get caught up or maybe even involved, like where's the first place they should go to just kind of get their heads wrapped around everything that's happening with what you're working on? Yeah,
so I suppose generally speaking, I'd say #AI Slack in Drupal Slack, #AI in Drupal Slack. And then we have a Drupal, new.drupal.org/AI place where we have, there's a blog, there's a Drupal blog there that talks about it. And then www.drupal-starforge.ai has been the place where we keep track of those issues. I'm starting to post more LinkedIn updates through video, but I'm also kind of starting more of a YouTube channel. It's going to be the FreelyGive YouTube channel, but we'll have like a podcasty playlist where I'll regularly just do updates or talk to people. But like this, I think we need to start doing much more content like this. I've heard a lot of people really like my video updates. I also want to do something, Dries actually started working on it himself, but he built something that could like pull in loads of commit requests from GitLab and then do summaries of them. So I would really like to make like a sort of AI created mailing list where you could get like daily, weekly summaries of just what's happened across the whole AI ecosystem. There's like 60 modules we're working on.
Wow.
So I think that's one thing we want to do, and anyone who wants to help vibe code that, you're welcome to join in. But how are you? Where to get your info about your decoupled.io and what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I post a lot on LinkedIn. I try to really post there a lot. I like your updates too, so hopefully you kind of cross post in both. You know, I'll definitely follow along. I love kind of like I love to post short content. I love to consume short content because, you know, it's hard, even if you have like an hour podcast and you're like, hey, this is great. I'm like, well, I don't have time. So I love it like 2 minute, like this is what just happened on MCP or whatever. So yeah, I post on LinkedIn a lot, and then we've got the decoupled.io website that you can check out the platform. Definitely in beta right now, but trying to get people to try it out, give feedback, and so that's where to find me.
So thanks a lot for this, and we should do it again. And doing it in person is awesome. I think maybe I'm going to try and do this regularly at all the events, is do a couple little videos.
Yeah.
We get Dev Days next, and yeah, I'm guessing Rotterdam. I don't know if you're going to be at any of these events coming up.
I'd love to. I mean, you never know, but yeah, it was great catching up, and we'll have to talk again soon.
Thank you.
All right, cool.